And we are live on the Dave K Show. I'm David K. Gyro, and with me is my beautiful co-host, Miss Datha Beret.
Hey guys.
How you doing today, Datha?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Very, very good. We got a lot to talk about today. We got a very special guest on, and somebody that I think kind of hits home with you, right?
Oh yeah, one of my peeps.
That's exactly right. All right, so to start off the show, I always have to say that we are broadcasting from the beautiful banks of Falls River in beautiful Point Capee Parish in the historic Julian Partridge Arts Center and Museum. So we're glad to be out here, being part of history, making history with our first podcast that Point Capee's ever had. So we enjoyed doing that, bringing information out to all the people of Point Capee and around the world, actually.
Yep.
A lot of things have been going on locally here in South Louisiana that we got to talk about and everything. So what I want to do is that we're going to talk about that a little bit later on our next show after this.
Right.
But so we want to talk about basically. So Datha, tell us a little bit about where you work at first of all. To segue into our guest.
Okay. I work at Wildlife and Fisheries.
Wildlife and Fisheries.
Yep.
So obviously you enjoy working there, right?
I do actually. I really do. 3 years now. I think it's about 3 years.
And you're not an agent on the road, right? You don't. You
Oh,
have
I
a gun,
wish.
You have a gun on, and you're out in the bayou.
It would be bad to give me a gun, Dave. It would be bad.
Somehow I believe that. Right.
No, I would save the animals, but
Right.
I think that if I would ever investigate anything, especially in a hunt situation, they would smell me coming about 3 miles away. So
Smell
it's
you.
not. Oh
Smell
yeah.
perfume, or what would they smell?
It's perfume.
Okay.
It's in my blood. It's bad.
Right.
It's bad.
I don't know. I just see you if you have a gun driving a big 4-wheel drive truck. I see you probably.
Oh yeah, I mean I could totally rock it. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
it would not work. Yeah, they would see me coming.
I think you'd be the most beautiful wildlife agent Louisiana has ever known.
Oh, thank you, Dave. It made me
Yes,
blush.
I don't think I'm the only person who believes that. Okay, so without further ado, we have a very special guest today. Talk about a lot of cool things that he's done and things that are going on right now. It is none other than Senior Agent Mr. Mason Spillman from the Wildlife and Fisheries. Mason, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all today?
Doing great.
I'm good.
We're great. That's great. We're glad to have you on. First of all, Wildlife and Fisheries. Tell us what that department is all about and what do y'all do?
So I'm a, like you said in your introduction, I'm a senior agent for the Enforcement Division of Wildlife and Fisheries, and we investigate and enforce laws, hunting and fishing laws in the state of Louisiana. We're also the lead search and rescue agency in the state in times of crisis, natural disasters, as well as enforce all other laws in the state. But we tend to concentrate on hunting, fishing, and boating laws.
Right. So your jurisdiction as a wildlife agent is kind of like state police. I mean, you have
That's
the
right.
same powers as statewide.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. They divide us up into regions and then even a little more into districts. So we have a almost like a home base that we cover. So we're not all over the state. Every agents are centralized. Throughout the area.
Right. It's interesting. So I was wondering, how far do your arresting powers go? I mean, what can you do? Where's your limits at? Can you stop people from speeding? Can you? What can you do?
Yeah, legally, we have the right to enforce any law in the state of Louisiana. I'm a post-certified law enforcement officer, as well as the rest of the 200 plus agents that are in the department, and we don't necessarily look for traffic violations or things of the such, but if we see something that's going on that's dangerous, we definitely
Right.
can handle
Because
it.
I imagine your plate's full enough already with all the
Oh,
stuff you got to
yeah.
do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Without having to deal with speeders and stuff like that. Right. Well, that's great. So what in the world got you interested in being a wildlife agent? Were you always interested in law enforcement in general, or just wildlife and fisheries? Or
No, not I wouldn't say necessarily law enforcement. My dad, I grew up in St. Francisville, and my dad was a wildlife and fisheries agent. So it's all I've really, it's all I've really ever known. And I remember being a kid and him bringing me to school and just smiling because he loved to go to work. So I knew it was going to be a good job, and I made a decision when I was 20 years old that this is what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it. I'm like my dad now. I wake up in the morning.
glad to go to work.
Right.
Yeah.
I love going to work.
You get to hunt on the job.
No,
drive
we
a
don't.
boat on the job. No.
We don't do any hunting, but we get to drive a boat, drive around in the woods.
Fun
Right.
stuff.
Like on Facebook,
fun.
they got the memes. Okay, this is what people think I do. This is what mom thinks I does. This is what I do.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
It'd be me doing paperwork.
right.
Exactly. So, do you see Datha on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Datha used to work in our office, and now they moved her about a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago.
To a different office, but I still see her all the time. I coordinate with her doing some boating safety classes and stuff. And
Yeah.
Right. And why did they move you to another office? What happened?
Oh, promotion there, Dave.
Ah, awesome.
That's
Yeah,
right.
good
Tap it
job.
out.
That's right.
Promotion.
Yeah, especially with the state.
Moving on up.
That's right.
That's great.
right.
Awesome. Very good. So, and you're not done yet. The ladder's got a few more rungs left on it.
Gosh, I hope not. That would be a bummed out if I was.
You're going to be running this thing before you know it.
We hope
right.
not. I would be a great colonel, but
Colonel Datha Bure.
yes.
Right.
Oh, it sounds so good.
It does.
Have
It
to
sounds
work on
really good.
that.
Right.
Poor Sam.
So, to be a wildlife agent, do you particularly have to have a love for animals?
Yeah, you could say that. I'm not gonna speak for everyone because I don't know everyone's love for animals, but I have a love for animals and the outdoors, and I think the main reason I do it is I grew up hunting, fishing, and enjoying the outdoors, and I think what we do is enforce laws to, on people violating hunting law, specifically hunting laws that could deplete the resource for future generations. And I grew up. My grandpa grew up hunting and fishing. My dad grew up hunting and fishing. I grew up hunting and fishing. I want to pass that down to my kids and my grandkids, and so I like to think I have a little part in conserving the resource in the state.
Yeah.
Sure. That's great.
Is that?
And so when we talk about wildlife, we're talking about the gamut from birds, fish, deer,
Tigers,
right.
monkeys, bears,
Right.
Exotic
everything.
animals, that's right.
Hawks, everything.
Right. Yeah. So kind of fill us in. What are some interesting breeds of animals or species of animals that are in Louisiana?
I don't think there's the black bears is probably the most common that you'll hear talking about interesting species of animals in the area. They're really making a comeback.
Are they aggressive?
I've never heard of a black bear being aggressive. A lot of people, since they're making this comeback and they're showing up, especially around West Feliciana Parish where I work, in areas around people's homes, and they call me concerned, and I tell everyone that they're a docile creature. It's not this big grizzly bear like you see on a movie. It's a black bear. They don't get very big, and they rarely eat meat. They're not killers per se. They forage on berries and grasses, and they but they're fascinating creatures. They're I kind of like looking at them, and I've seen a few, but
Right.
I'm not gonna say they're aggressive. I'm not gonna say, and I'm also not gonna say they won't hurt you, because you get between mama and baby,
Yes.
you
Right.
might be in a little bind there, but
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, with that being said, don't go to Burger King and buy a cheeseburger.
Really?
Well, I wouldn't. You wouldn't want to feed it.
Right.
That's
Right.
I mean,
That's
that's
true.
that's how they end up being
Right.
the way they are.
right.
As soon as they get the taste for meat.
Yeah.
I don't know if a cheeseburger would do
yeah,
it,
I
but
don't either.
It's like feeding table scraps to your cat or your dog.
well, yeah,
Eventually
they'll
it's
keep
gonna
coming
hurt 'em.
back.
Right.
That's right.
You don't want to feed them that.
Right. They keep coming back, and it's going to hurt them in the long run.
Exactly.
I tell people that call me with concerns about bear in the area. Tell them if you've got a food source, maybe a deer feeder you got going, or a cow feeder out in the field, take that out of food source. If you don't want the bear there, it'll meander on. They're pretty wide ranging creatures, so they're not gonna just build a home right by you. They'll go away, and
and don't shoot them if you see them.
no,
absolutely
Yes.
not.
No.
True. Is that against the law?
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
very
big time.
highly illegal.
So what kind of penalties are we looking at?
Big money.
A lot of money. All the penalties are up to the respective judges, so
Right.
we don't really make the fines or anything. I think we have a fine schedule that kind of gives them almost like a template on what they maybe should do, but it's all up to them. We don't
Right.
we don't really make those rules. It's up to the judges and the
Sure.
district attorneys.
Right.
Yep.
So it's like don't shoot the mailman. Right. I'm here to force the law, and they'll take it from there.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So we're going to segue into our next segment in just a second here. So what are some things that the average Joe Blow citizen can do to keep themselves out of trouble when they're out in the woods and everything? Like you hear people shooting deer from cars and going over the limit for hunting season.
That's right.
Give us some general tips for people out there to keep yourself out of trouble.
So the best way to do it, I would say, is we enforce, especially hunting wise, is Title 56 in the Louisiana Revised Statute. If you want to know all the laws, go read it. It's pretty lengthy and wordy. So the department puts out a a more basic, easier to read hunting pamphlet every year that explains all the laws and regulations.
Yeah, and it's on our
for the
website
state.
too.
It's on the website.
Yep,
There's
fishing
hard
too.
copies
Right.
you can get in just about anywhere.
So
Walmart.
they could just
Yeah.
Google Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries and take them right to the website.
If they want the website, it's wlf.louisiana.gov.
That's right.
Excellent. Yes, go there
Yep.
for all your tips and everything.
Oh, it's all on there.
It's
Good,
all on
good
there.
site. Good site.
Very, very good. Well, that is great. So, yeah, that leads us to our next part and everything. One of the reasons why we have you over here is because, you know, we just want to recognize you for the great work that you did recently. You know, it was a bad accident. We're not going to go into too much detail about it, but it was a bad accident that you came across, and you, along with some other people, helped save the person's life. And we just want to thank you for that and everything. Is there anything that you can tell us about that accident, about what happened?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Forget the date of it now, but
May 19th.
May 19th. It was a Sunday morning, and I was in the summer times on the weekends. We go down to in my district. We go down to the Amite River Diversion Canal, which is a decent ways from where I live in St. Francisville. So it was Sunday morning, and I was headed to work on the river, and it was raining real bad, and I was just driving down there, and I saw a couple cars on the side of the road with their flashers on, and as I was passing, I saw a boy, probably 15 years old, with his face in his palms, looked distraught, and I thought to myself, that something's not right here. So I turned around and pulled in there. It was at the entrance of the Port Hudson State Park on Highway 61. It's technically in East Feliciana Parish, but it's right on the East Baton Rouge Parish line on 61. And when I pulled up, there was a car in the ditch way down there, obviously pretty badly wrecked, and there were two men pulling a young lady out of the vehicle, and it was a graphic scene. I'm not going to go into those details, but when I had stepped out of my truck, I went down there, asked the guys, you know, kind of secured the scene, see what was going on, and I saw the young lady's leg had been cut off from the wreck.
Right.
And so I immediately, my training clicked in, and
Yes.
I deployed a tourniquet on her leg and strapped it on tight, spun the windlass, and eventually stopped the bleeding.
Great. Awesome job.
It was about 5 or 6. I'm gonna call them Good Samaritans. They were not emergency professionals. They were just driving down the road and wanted to help. They were very helpful. They sat around, they prayed, and they talked, and they remained calm, and they used everything they had on hand to.
And there's only one patient out there that you had.
That's correct. That's correct. It was a one vehicle accident with one person in the vehicle.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, a deputy from East Feliciana Parish Sheriff's Office showed up, and he assisted, and then Zachary Fire Department showed up, and then eventually the East Baton Rouge EMS ambulance showed up. And once the fire department got there, I kind of stepped back because they're a lot more qualified on taking care of injured, people than I am. So they hooked her up with oxygen and was running some tests on her, took her vitals, and then the ambulance got there, and we put her on that stretcher, and they were gone, and it seemed like a split second. It didn't take long at all.
Yeah, didn't waste any time. I even heard that there was a priest or a pastor or something on the scene.
There was.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know.
How cool is that?
I didn't know who he was or what he did, but there was a man there that was praying, and he was, he did a good job. He was talking to us and keeping everyone calm. And later that afternoon, I got a phone call from a random number, and I usually don't answer those kind of calls, but I did. And his Mr. Kelvin Kelly was his name, and he's a pastor at a church in Zachary, and he happened to be that man on the scene that day.
That's
and
amazing. Huh?
It is.
We
That
talked
is cool.
on the phone for about 30 to 40 minutes, just talking about life and about that accident and how God put us there, and I completely agree that he did, and he did that for a reason. And it was a really cool deal.
Wow.
That is cool.
Get to talk to Mr. Kelly, and it was a good experience.
Yes. And that's one of those
Wow.
things where everything comes together at the right time, at the right place.
Right.
That's right.
And it just wasn't her time to go.
No, Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does. Right. And we just pray that everything works out good for us if something like that would happen, So
Right.
that's great.
right.
And one of the things can work out for our good is if we know certain safety tips and things to do. So, you had a tourniquet with you, right?
That's right.
Ever since this happened and I read about it, I'm a paramedic and everything. I got a medic bag. I had everything in my medic bag but a tourniquet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
But now I got one.
They're good to have.
Yes.
I think my superiors at work and the training staff, I'll give them a shout out. Lieutenant Chris Carpenter, Sergeant Ladd Turner, and Corporal Justin Lowry. They're our training staff, and I think they're the best in the business. They do great work, and they make sure that we're prepared for situations like that and others.
Right.
And they really push for, I think a wildlife agent or a game warden gets the perception of being a good old boy, don't know nothing about nothing, just enforces hunting and fishing laws. But I'm telling you, we're one of the most highly trained law enforcement people in the state. I completely believe that, and it's thanks to them. And so I was issued that tourniquet a couple years ago. We every year, and we do a week-long training, in-service training, recertifications on a lot of different things, and we have a tourniquet class every year, and we practice on each other, and we practice on ourselves on how to apply that tourniquet. And man, as soon as I thought tourniquet, my training kicked in. And
yes, indeed, it's automatic.
And, that's right, and it was. I'm glad I knew how to do it. I'm glad I had it there with me.
That's
For
great.
sure.
That's great. I know that's a big movement now. Like the CPR classes are a big thing. We teach that in the communities and everything.
Yeah.
Everybody learns CPR. And most recently, we talked about a stroke earlier. Remember
Right.
strokes?
Right.
So now they're teaching the public how to recognize strokes.
Right.
Because they always say time is brain. Every minute that counts, that happens when you have a stroke, you're losing brain.
Well, yeah.
That's
Right.
So now the thing is bleeding. So there's a lot of hospitals in New Orleans that are teaching classes on trauma and bleeding and stopping bleeding. The simple act of stopping somebody's major bleeding can save
a life. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And you prove that case by having a tourniquet. So
Right.
very, very important. And you can make a tourniquet out of anything, right?
Right. So I'll give another little story here if y'all don't mind.
Go for it. Yes.
There's an agent named Senior Agent Luke Langley. He works actually in this area. He lives in West Baton Rouge Parish. Good friend of mine. I've known him since college before this job. And last summer he was working on some waterway. I'm not sure exactly where. And there was a boating accident with a propeller injury to a woman's leg, not unlike the one that I dealt with a couple weeks ago. And she was bleeding very profusely. And Luke Langley applied his tourniquet, and that wasn't working. And he took this is all on the fly now. He took a rope, tied it around her leg, grabbed his expandable baton, tied the rope around it, and created a tourniquet with that, and saved that lady's life.
Incredible. That's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And we always say, like in the first responder classes, which are now EMR classes, the only thing you need to save a life is your hands.
Right.
That's right.
You don't need, if a trauma surgeon is driving on I-10 and comes across a wreck, he doesn't have the whole operating room.
No,
He's
you're
got
right.
his 2 hands.
You're right.
And if you know how to do it with your hands, you can save a life for sure.
Right.
And that includes, like you said, taking something and making a tourniquet out of it. Making a splint out of it.
That's right.
And getting creative about things like that.
Right.
I encourage everyone, in the public and excuse me,
Sure,
to take, like you said, CPR classes and go take a tourniquet class somewhere. It's super easy. It's a simple concept, and if I wouldn't have been there that morning, those people may or may not. Now they may have known how to use a tourniquet, didn't have one handy, but they may not have known how to use that, and there's that woman would have bled out. So.
Yes. Definitely. Have you ever had any other instances in your career that you've helped save a life or come across injuries?
No,
and stuff like that?
I've come across some serious fatality boating accidents that last summer I happened upon a boating accident that had just happened, and unfortunately the guy didn't make it, and there was just nothing anyone could do.
Right. What was the cause of that accident? The official cause? Was it waste?
Yeah, it was the operator was under the influence of alcohol.
There you go.
What's some tips for boat and safety as we are having the 4th of July?
Yes.
False River 4th of July parade.
Right.
I don't know what they call it, but they're having one.
4th of July on False River,
July.
I think it is. Yep.
What are some tips?
I'm going to say this. It's not necessarily required for all boats, but I'll tell everyone to wear their life jacket.
Thank you.
Even if not required.
Even if you can swim, right?
Right.
That's right.
Right.
You won't find me on a boat anywhere without my life jacket on. I don't care if the boat's 100 foot long or 10 foot long. I'm gonna have that life jacket on. Like the hunting and fishing regulations, there's also a boating handbook that we give out and you can find on the internet that explains all of the boating safety laws and tips. But my number one thing is wear a life jacket. It does you no good in that hatch and that zipped up little bag that they come in. They're very difficult to put on while in the water, and if you get knocked out, become unconscious, I don't care how good you can swim, you're not swimming then. So
True.
wear your life jacket. If you've got a tiller handle motor, wear your kill switch. Always operate boats sober. Have a designated driver if you do choose to drink. I'm not chastising anyone for drinking, but I will chastise you for drinking and driving. There's no excuse for that.
Right.
And make sure everyone on board knows what's going on, knows where the safety equipment is. You've got to have a fire extinguisher on board, a Type 4 PFD, which is a throwable device, either a life ring or a square seat. They call them seat cushions, but they're Type 4 PFDs. They're throwables. In case someone's in the water, you can throw it to them, and they can hang on to it until you can get them to safety.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure not only you, if you're operating, but all the passengers on board know where these safety items are in case the driver is the one ejected. And if no one else knows where the stuff is,
Right.
it does them no good.
Right.
So that's a few little tips.
And that goes for party barges, boats,
Anything on the
like
water.
Anything on the water.
Right. What about jet skis? How are those configured?
Same thing.
So
Same
jet
thing.
skis have to have a fire extinguisher. They don't have to have the Type 4 throwable, but you've got to legally have to be wearing a
Right.
life jacket while operating a personal watercraft.
Right.
And also in any vessel under 16 foot with a tiller handle type motor, you've got to be wearing your life jacket. And then kids 16 and under have to be wearing their life jacket at all times.
Mm-hmm.
That's boats too.
What's that?
That's boats too.
Oh,
all in
right.
motion,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
all boats.
And PFD is personal flotation device. If you didn't know.
There you go. For those that didn't,
Listen a little bit.
PFD life jacket.
That's
you heard it
right.
here first on the Dave K Show with Dathan Bure.
Oh,
That's right.
I do listen a little at work.
That's it.
Oh my God, I say it every day. Everybody wants their boat and safety cards. Log on. Look at the website.
That's another thing. They
Got to have your
brought
boat and
that up.
safety cards.
It's
I'm
essential.
also a instructor through the department
Yeah,
for
sure.
a boating safety class. Me and Datha worked a lot together on
great.
on that, and
Yes,
so
good
I
job.
teach boating safety classes. In the area, you can find a boating safety class just about, I would say, almost every weekend.
Yep.
Somewhere
great.
in the area.
Yeah, if you log onto the website, you can go and pull up the events, the locations within, I think it goes up to 20 miles radius of where you're located at.
I think it's 100 miles.
Yeah, I know, but I mean
Wow.
like minimum, and then like
Oh,
over like,
right,
yeah.
right.
But you can find it anywhere.
Right, and
Yeah.
I
No
know
excuse.
I put them on all over the area.
Yep.
The Coast Guard Auxiliary puts them on once a month at Cabela's in Gonzales. So if you log on to our website, like Datha said, under boating education, you can find where to go take one of those classes.
And it's anyone born before January 1st of 1984,
That's
right?
correct.
So anyone before that has to have it. It's required.
No,
After that, has to have it. It's required. Anyone born before that don't have to have it.
That's right. But
it's
I
good to
encourage-
have it
Right.
because
yes.
it teaches you everything. And I took it myself.
Great.
So I mean, it teaches you everything.
Right. Err on the side as you go and take the class, like you said. Take the thing. You're sure
Yeah,
you're gonna hurt.
and I mean,
That's
it's
right.
no charge.
No, it's free of
It's
charge.
Yeah,
$4.
I mean-
wow.
You learn a lot.
Wow.
I see, like Datha said, if you're born after January 1st, 1984, you have to take the class in order to operate a boat in the state of Louisiana and most states. I think all states, actually.
Yeah, and then now are all
right.
electronic cards, so you don't even have to have the
okay.
card in
That's
hand as
right.
long as you have a screenshot on your phone.
Awesome.
So I see a lot of times kids are young people taking this class, and then their parents come with them, even though the parents were born before 84 and don't need the class. They come with them and take the class and take
Yes.
the test and get their card.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah,
And
it's
every
gonna hurt.
single time that happens, they come up to me after the class and say, "Thanks for teaching. I actually learned something."
Wow.
Yep.
There you go. That's great. That's awesome.
It is
I
very
encourage
informational.
everyone to take it. It's
Yes.
it's free. It's one day.
It's 1 day class.
8-hour class, and you may save your life or someone's life by knowing how to operate a boat
Exactly.
correctly and the safety tools.
Yep.
That is great.
Cool stuff there, Dave.
I know, that's awesome.
But our
Very
new
good.
website now, like they used to do paper cards, they quit doing it. Now they're doing them all electronic, so you can
Right.
print it out from your computer. So it's always on hand. You just have to have your LDWF number, which you may have to call in to get that.
To get your card?
To get the LDWF number to get your card, because we have specific accounts set up for it's like a wildlife and fisheries ID.
Right.
If someone on air has lost their card, I will go ahead and put our number out there.
Okay, great. Yeah,
If you
definitely.
need it, it's 225-765-2980. That's my office.
Say it again. Say it again.
225-765-2980. I'll give you the directions on how to do it. It's very easy. It's all on the website. And you print the card out, and I would do a screenshot just to have it, but always keep that LDWF number in a safe spot, because that is how you're going to access your hunting, your fishing, everything wildlife and fisheries related.
That's right.
So
Perfect. Yep. They're doing the same thing with CPR cards now. They're going to, like you said, the paperless, or you put it on your phone
Yep.
and show it like that.
Right.
Yep.
And aren't they doing that with what are they doing that with again? The paperless stuff.
Driver's license.
Driver's license.
Yeah.
And well, ours are all permanent, so they don't have to go back. And you can actually endorse it on your driver's license if you
That's
want
right.
to, but then you lose your driver's license while you're in the boat. And I don't know if that's what you want to do, but
Right. Right.
it can be.
Right. Well, that's great. Timmy says we got a few minutes left here. Is there anything other things you want to go over before we head on out?
No, I appreciate y'all having me on,
Sure.
and I think it's good to kind of get what I do and what the guys I work with do out in the public, and knowing how we operate, and that we're not all mean people, even though
Right.
when you come across us, so sometimes we may not make your day,
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Whose
go by
fault?
the law, and you
That's
won't
right.
have
Thank
that
you.
problem.
That's exactly right.
Right. Whose fault is that?
You
Right.
obey the laws, and
Perfect.
it's easy being legal.
That's
Yes.
right.
Tell my friends. I've got a bunch of friends that I love to hunt and fish, so I have friends that love to hunt and fish, and they always call and asking how they can loopholes, how they can get around this and that, and I always tell them it's too easy to be legal. There's no point in breaking a law.
No, cut corners are not the way to do it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yep. True. That's right. Well, good deal. That sounds great. Dathan, anything else you want to add?
I think
What's going on in your office at the Wildlife and Fisheries? Anything new?
we
same
just
thing?
boat and safety's ramped up because everybody's on the lakes and the waterways and
Right.
fun stuff. Just y'all,
Right.
please be careful. Too many fatalities.
Yes.
No more accidents. I don't like those
Listen
reports.
to Dathan, please.
Yeah, wear your life jackets.
Yep.
Wear your
Water
life jacket.
kills.
Yeah, man, Mason.
If not treated properly, it will kill you.
Right. Another interesting thing we could also go over, they were talking about the spillway, which is a whole other fiasco in itself, but if they did open it, how there would be like wildlife running all over the place trying to get out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like a
yeah.
stampede.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like Noah's Ark coming out, right? I mean,
No.
so, I mean,
Well, yeah.
so you got black bears, you got
Only they're running from the water, not running.
Running from the water.
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't know too much about what's going on with the spillway, and I'm not gonna really say anything on that. But I will say, if you see animals being displaced from where they normally are because of this high water, just to leave them alone, and
Yeah.
they'll find their way.
Right.
I'll say, if you see, I know does deer are gonna be probably having fawns here soon. So if you see baby deer in a field or in the woods anywhere, leave it alone. The mama's gonna come back.
Right.
Yeah, don't feed them.
Don't feed them. Don't pick
right.
them
You
No.
up.
talked about it earlier, right?
Don't think the mama's dead because she's not with them. She's probably out eating. So
Right.
Right.
Well, that goes for everything. Do not feed it.
Right.
Yes.
Raccoons too, even though they're cute when they're babies.
Right.
They are so cute
Exactly.
when they're babies.
Yep. They are.
Skunks too,
Yes.
and squirrels, and everything that's a baby's cute, but you
Yeah.
can't feed it.
Right.
that's right.
Some people even take the things out of the skunks and keep them as pets.
I want one so bad. I want
Not
somebody to
legal.
find me a skunk.
It's not legal,
Not
really.
legal.
Oh,
No.
I just have to
Really?
learn to deal with the smell then there, Dave.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
No, you can't have them.
No.
Well, don't get them mad, and they won't put the smell stuff on you. That's why they do
I,
it.
I make everything I know mad at me at some point in my life, so that will not work.
Right, that skunk wouldn't last long.
It
No.
would- my house would be noticed by the smell.
Right.
No more paint.
Oh, my
No, I
goodness.
can't do that, Dave.
I hear you. So one last question is, so when should we report a killed animal to the wildlife and fisheries if we see something on the road? If we hit an animal, if you hit a dog, you don't have to call the wildlife and fisheries.
Usually the sanitation department handles some of that.
Right.
Local sanitation.
If you hit a wild animal on the road, especially a deer or something big, that I would call the sheriff's office or the police and tell them you've been in an accident and let them come make a police report. And 90% of the time they deal with it. Like Datha said, the sanitation departments will clean it up. But yeah, be safe, and if it causes damage to your vehicle, definitely make an accident report.
Because here in South Louisiana, if somebody hits a deer, what are they going to want to do with the deer?
Oh, I'm strapping it to my hood, and I'm going to take it home and eat
That's
it.
right.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, if it's going to kill my car, then I got to get something out of it.
Right. Oh, yeah. And they're going to do damage 9 times out of 10.
And look, you can do that as long as you have an accident report. So,
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
But make sure don't just go hit a deer and then throw it in the back of your truck and then you get pulled over.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
a blood trail behind you.
Start asking some questions about, I hit it with my truck.
Right.
Some good eating tonight, baby.
I've had caught some people night hunting before that they were shooting deer off the side of the road, but then they told me they hit it with their vehicle. I knew better. So.
Well, it's got bullet holes in it.
Well,
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah, don't shoot stuff when you're not supposed to there, Dave.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. We all have guns, but you're right.
I don't, but don't shoot no animals unless you're supposed to.
You're a wildlife and fisheries employee and you don't have a gun?
I have 3
Come
kids. I
on.
can't get to listen to me. There's no way I'm putting a gun in my house.
I
Not
can understand that.
now.
I can understand that.
Not now. I will get. I do have a gun. I have a BB gun.
Okay.
And my aim is very well.
Well,
I can shoot the center of the plate every time.
I'd advise you to shoot their eyes out, because you're gonna make them mad if you hit them with a BB gun.
That's why you have wall spray.
Okay, that works too.
Wall spray is equal as mace.
That works too. All right, well, sounds great. I think we've pretty much exhausted our subject right here. But once again, thank you so much for the life-saving work that you've done and everything, and the training
Thank
you
y'all.
have. You got a long career ahead of you, and
that's right.
no doubt you're gonna save many more lives.
20 years till retirement.
Oh goodness,
Thank
I
y'all
only
for
got
having me
15, so.
All right. I'm at about 9 right now, so still seems like forever. All right, well, sounds great. We're going to shut it down right here. So thanks for coming out. Senior Agent Mason Spillman with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
Thank y'all for having me on.
Thanks,
Well, that sounds
Mason.
great. All right, so for Datha Bure, this is David Gyro, and this is Dave K. Show, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. See